Okay, as the migrant surges grow in Texas, as well as Arizona, by the way, taking matters into their own hand is their governor. He is committing millions to build the border wall, seed money, $250 million. Listen.
Homes are being invaded. Neighborhoods are dangerous, and people are being threatened on a daily basis with guns of people either coming across the border or those working with those who are coming across the border. In the federal government's absence, Texas is stepping up to get the job done.
And now other governors are offering their National Guard troops while he tries to get a project manager to build a wall. Here to react is the Texas GOP chair, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. Colonel, what do you think about the governor's actions?
Well, good to be with you, Brian. I'm glad that the governor has finally realized that we do have an incredible crisis at the border. It's been about 6 months, and there have been a lot of Texans that have been suffering under this scourge of illegal immigration coming across. But building a border wall is just part of what needs to happen. We need to have a full mobilization of our National Guard, Texas National Guard, down along that border so that they can secure these infiltration routes and they can interdict the crossings that we see coming from these cartels and the flow of drugs and persons as well. But I think more importantly, we've got to go at the heart of the matter, and that's the financing, where the money that is involved in this. And so we need to start looking at how do we tax remittances that are going back from illegal immigrants into Mexico. How do we make sure that we go after the banks that are laundering money of these cartels? And we've got to go after these stash houses here as well. So I think one of the important things that we have to do going forward is to look at the system that has allowed this illegal immigration to happen, especially the use of the cartels. But also we've got to understand the constitutional crisis of having a federal government that has abdicated their entire role and responsibility to protect the sovereignty of Texas. What can Texas do as far as taking over that role and responsibility, to include being able to deport people back across the border?
Pretty amazing that the vice president got a total pass on her disastrous two-stop tour in Mexico and Guatemala and gave away vaccines to Mexico without demanding they at least send 20,000 Marines to their southern border. So we gave them 1 million shots for what?
No, you're absolutely right. And when you look at the budget of the Biden administration, there's $4 billion, I believe, that they're looking at sending to those Northern Triangle countries of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and they're not beefing up the Department of Homeland Security or the Border Patrol as well. So again, we see a lack of emphasis from the federal government, and the president of Guatemala and also elected officials and leadership in Mexico have criticized the Biden administration and their policies, which has created this crisis.
So, Colonel, it looks like Congress is coming back to work, and they're going to talk about infrastructure, and they're also going to talk about H.R. 1 that would dramatically affect how everybody votes and probably end up being unconstitutional. The vice president talked about it in meeting with Democratic lawmakers yesterday. Listen.
You are courageous leaders, and you are American patriots. When we look at what has happened in Texas, we look at what's happening around the country, I think it's important to remember we talk about the right to vote. And the right to vote is a given. Americans are at risk of losing their access to their right.
Her fractured syntax and her head nods are distracting, but the theme is clear. Pass H.R. 1 or else our democracy falls apart. What did you guys do in Texas that has Democrats so outraged?
Well, first of all, those Texas Democrats that she's calling courageous are a bunch of cowards. Those are the people that walked out and prevented us from having the quorum to be able to vote on SB 7, which was the election integrity law here in Texas. And I don't find it a coincidence that they want to flood Texas with illegal immigrants. And also, they don't want any voter ID. They don't want any voter roll registration reviews. They want online voter registration. They all the things that would undermine honest in elections here in Texas. So I think that she is not standing for our democratic process.
Right, and the Democratic lawmakers walked out so you couldn't have a quorum and pass those Texas voting reform, which is not really reform. It's called the pandemic's over, back to business as usual, and not letting everybody vote. Colonel, thanks so much. I know you got your hands full down there, and I know shortly you're going to announce what you're personally going to do because you're going to be resigning as Texas GOP chair. Will it be running for governor? Will it be a congressional seat?
Well, we'll see, and we'll let you know sometime before the 11th of July.
Before July 11th. Okay, Colonel Alan West, thanks.